I'm Nicole and I'm studying Year 1 Architecture.
So hi, I'm Yundi and I'm Year 2 Architecture.
I'm Yuresh from Bachelor of Landscape Architecture and I'm currently in Year 2.
My name is Layla. I'm from the Bachelor of Landscape Architecture and I'm a Year 3 student.
Hi, I'm Justin. I'm from 4th year Architecture.
Why did you choose this course?
I was always interested in art and design, and growing up I saw how spaces shaped people, so that really started my interest in architecture.
So I think I developed a fond interest of architecture when I was young. Looking at different buildings, I would travel to different countries and see different cultures of buildings. So that was my first love in architecture.
To be honest, growing up I just had a knack to be creative. I could draw and I also liked building like little cities with my toys. Naturally, I progressed into interior design in poly, and before that I actually took arts, and that naturally just led me here.
So I actually chose this course because I had a lot of parental influence. My mom used to be an architect and she always kind of had that influence on me to like take design. So I always had that influence, and then growing up I was always interested in nature and wildlife. So this course kind of felt like a very logical choice, as it was like a combination of both design and nature and geography as well, which is something else I liked doing in secondary school. So in a way, it's a way to design not just for humans but for non-humans as well, and to use like natural systems in our designs.
Wait, why? Oh, because my family is in the industry. Yes.
Were you 100% sure when you accepted the offer?
Absolutely, there's no other course I can picture myself in.
I wanted to do Archi when I was in secondary school, so I just carried on with this dream and here I am. Yeah.
I guess just being in the design discipline, I was happy to do whatever which allowed me to be creative. So I just knew that this major had the structure to allow myself to express in a structured manner.
I would say I was like 100% sure because I actually have a polytechnic background, and so by doing my polytechnic studies, I had that exposure to the industry, and I had that exposure to the industry as well as like the art form itself. So after experiencing that for 3 years, I was quite confident in pursuing this industry. Yeah.
Yes, 100% sure.
Do you expect it to be this intense?
I did expect this intensity, however, I was not expecting how much it fluctuates, because it really does snowball at times with every mod being project-based.
Honestly, when I was in Year 1, Sem 1, it was quite a shock. We were thrown into the deep sea, having to do like all the different drawings, learning plan section elevations, doing models, all at the same time. A lot of time was spent in studio, and we had 4 projects in semester 1, so all this when we just started was quite intense.
I don't know, I feel like landscape architecture students are able to manage themselves in a better way. No hate on architecture students, but like, I don't know, I always see architecture students really stressed out, so I don't know if it's a difference in workload or like time management or like just the way that we're doing things, because you guys do a lot of models and a lot of drawings, and so do we, but I think we build slightly less models and we focus a bit more on drawing.
Actually, it's not as intense as I thought it would be. Yeah. Maybe my time management is not so bad.
What turned out to be completely different from what you imagined?
I didn't expect studio to be structured the way it is, because each professor has a lot of autonomy in the way they run studio, so the different teaching styles really caught me off guard.
And so my background was in JC, so it's mainly doing examinations and studying. But Archi is completely different. There's no studying needed. It's all project-based and there's no exams.
I think the common misconception is that we just work with plants, and I think as the years go by, I realized that we also work with a lot of systems. So that is something that actually surprised me.
So I would say that in poly, you actually have a very technical background because in poly, they kind of teach you to get a job. So in uni, like in comparison, we focus a lot more on the theory of design, and I think that leads you to more interesting opportunities to explore more radical ideas as compared to what you would be doing in a polytechnic course. So yeah, I like that it's a bit more theory focused, and I also like tapping into the different disciplines we have in the various studios that we do. For example, computational design, community engagement, as well as studying urban systems.
I think in uni there's a lot of self-directed learning. So it's unlike in JC or I did IB. So it was very classroom, very spoon-fed type. But here it's quite self-initiated. If you want to learn, then you learn.
What surprised you the most in your first year?
I wasn't expecting as much self-directed learning because I thought that our lectures would cover most technical knowledge and skill sets we needed, but that's not the case, and most information we need to source for online.
I would say one is the intensity, and second is that we have to spend money on materials, the different drawing tools. So in year one, I spent maybe around $300 or $400, and that was a bit unexpected.
I think the culture of like just overnighting in studios. Back in my poly, we were kind of bent to do that. I also picked up that habit, so the previous semester I actually did like overnight in school quite a few times.
I guess I was surprised at how design focused the first studio was, which sounds kind of stupid because we're in a design course. But I think coming from a polytechnic background, it made me realize that up till that point, I hadn't really thought so much about like the design sensitivities of what we were creating, because my approach had always been more logical and like, you know, let's say you're designing like pathways within a park, there would usually be like a trajectory of where someone is walking that you would try to design for. But I felt for this studio, it was kind of fun because the design was very intentional in terms of the form. Yeah, it felt like I created something a bit more artistic compared to my previous works. And I think I have to owe that to my, my studio tutor, who is kind of an artsy guy himself, and like he really pushed for my design to be more poetic and tap into more of the design sensibilities.
Model making materials is not supplied by the school. Yeah.
What does studio actually feel like on a typical week?
Most of the time, we spend the day before and the morning of preparing for studio, and the remaining of the week is still in studio because the workload is quite heavy and I focus best here. So studio feels like my entire week.
Oh, before the interims. Yeah, most of the students that usually stay in studio, they'll be in studio for like almost the whole day. You can see them from morning all the way to like at night. So the studio lights off usually around 10 p.m. and people will bring their own lights to continue doing their projects.
I guess it starts off with like the brief, and after that it's just site analysis. And week to week, we just have to build up towards like be it interim or critiques. So how it works would be, you probably have an idea, you consult with your prof, and you develop it further for the next week.
So most LA studios are only once a week. Studio day itself is, honestly, to me, it feels like a relief. Like after you spend a week of like developing your project, like even sometimes after a studio, you know, me and my friends would go catch a movie or something, do something fun. But the main thing that you're doing in studio, or the main goal for each studio, is actually to have a consultation with your professor.
So for year 4 studios, we have it on Thursdays. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday is quite free. So usually I go JB or maybe a short travel somewhere. And then after that, Monday comes and then we start to Chung for studio on Thursday again. So it just repeats.
Is the culture more competitive or collaborative than you expected?
I found the culture to be very collaborative, but I think that's because I work in studio for the most part. So everyone here is in the same boat trying to figure out things on our own. And since we're all here together, we like to help each other out a lot and learn from each other. So I found it to be very collaborative, but of course it is still a lot of individual projects. So there is a level of competitiveness to it. I feel like it's a healthy competition because we challenge ourselves to be better, to match each other's standard.
I think it's a mix of both. It's competitive when it comes to individual work because you tend to compare with your friends. But I would say that the mindset is important as well. If you treat it as learning from your friends, their drawings or their models, then it can be a bit more collaborative. But we have group projects as well, and that's highly collaborative. The best groups perform the best when they communicate with one another very frequently.
I would say it's a healthy mix of both. But I'm glad that my friends always are happy to share their findings. So I would say it's definitely more collaborative than maybe architecture.
For my previous two studios, we actually had weekly presentations, which were non-critical, but I felt like these were very good ways to develop our presentation skills and also cultivate an environment among the students where you aren't so worried about giving feedback, and you get more used to taking feedback and critiquing others, which has helped to create a more collaborative environment, I feel.
It really depends. I think for students who don't stay in studio to work, like the go-home gang, they don't see what's happening in studio, and then it becomes very competitive for them. But those students who stay in studio a lot to work together with one another, then it becomes quite collaborative.
What has been your hardest moment so far?
I think my hardest moment would be the recent crit, because my design was only approved on Monday and crit was Thursday. So I had 2.5 days to do model making and production for all my boards. So that was really intense.
So it just happened last week, 2 weeks ago, before interim. I think that was the toughest week ever. We had to redo our design on Monday, and we had 7 days to prepare the entire interim from scratch. So we had to do 3D modeling in Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Thursdays was preparing the laser cut files, and then Friday and Saturday was model making. And we spent 1 day Sunday doing our boards. So that was one of the most intense week ever.
As somebody who may be more abstract, I struggle to be more precise. And this semester I'm actually working on that. So by precision I mean maybe with softwares, because we handle with a lot of softwares and sometimes you just tend to miss a few details. So that's something I'm working on.
So in our second year semester 2 studio, we actually did a lot of group work. I'd say half the studio project was group work, which is not usually how it goes. And I felt what was challenging about this was actually having to manage everyone and manage my own expectations, as well as kind of organize everyone's own capabilities. I remember the first presentation we did for that group work, I felt really stressed out because I didn't feel that it was good enough. And so presenting it, and actually getting quite tough questions from the reviewers was quite stressful.
Yes, they should, especially if they want to do something creative, because it's such an interchangeable discipline. And I guess one of my favorite role models would be Virgil Abloh. He used to be a DJ, and he also designed things in collaboration with someone like Kanye West. Yeah, so and he did architecture as well. So I feel like it's something you should definitely just go for it.